Welcome back to Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet. I'm Josh.
And I'm Kristie. We've got some more great Reddit stories for you today, so let's jump into the first one.
Am I the asshole for not backing my wife up after my brother-in-law called her a bad parent?
I mean, that does kind of sound like asshole behavior, but what were you doing that made him call you a bad parent? Was it really bad?
My wife and I are both 41 and have an 11-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. Our daughter plays basketball, travel, and our son plays flag football in the spring, which is recreational. My wife is not the type of parent who organizes our lives around an 8 and 11-year-old sports schedule, and I agree with her on that. We refuse to let youth sports take over all our lives, even if vacations and stuff conflicts with that. A couple weeks ago, we were visiting my wife's sister and her husband for Memorial Day. They live a state over, so we left on Sunday. My wife and I and my in-laws were talking, and my brother-in-law asked about our son's sports. At some point, my wife said that we missed our son's practice to come over. My brother-in-law kind of started grilling my wife after, saying that she's not teaching him to be part of a team, being lazy, being a bad parent, etc. I overheard, but didn't retort because I didn't see the point.
That sounds kind of unsupportive on your part, because you did agree with your wife, and both of you decided to not have your lives revolve around youth sports, and he's calling her a bad parent. Why isn't he calling you a bad parent too? It's both of your decisions, and you need to stand up for your decisions. Tell your brother-in-law it's none of his business.
When we were driving home the following day, my wife asked me why I didn't back her up. I thought she forgot about that, and I tried to reason with her that she knows I agree with her, so I didn't have to play sidekick in that situation.
But brother-in-law doesn't know that you agree with her. He thinks that he's teaching her a lesson.
She didn't like my reasoning and didn't talk to anyone but the kids for the rest of the car ride, basically pretending I wasn't even there. Am I the asshole?
Okay, the silent treatment is childish, and I do always hate it. But you are very unsupportive of your wife about a decision that you both made together. I think you're the asshole.
I don't know, I get being against the silent treatment, but it's kind of what OP did to her.
Ooh, that is true. He was very silent and not supporting her.
She's just being silent right back, not saying anything.
But also, what kind of asshole team plans a practice on Memorial Day weekend when you know people are going to be visiting family and stuff?
Yeah, that's a good point, because this is an 8-year-old's flag football team.
A recreational flag football team.
So they missed a sports practice on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday Memorial Day weekend? No one's going to come to that. This isn't like even a middle school level sport, right? Because our nephew runs track, and they did have a practice on Memorial Day weekend, but that's because they were preparing for states.
Yeah, and my sister was still like, no, tell them you can't go. It's Memorial Day. This is family time. Even though you're going to states and you'll probably get a college scholarship out of this, who plans to practice on Memorial Day?
I think he still did go exercise solo.
Yes, he did.
But they were out of town for Memorial Day. It does seem a little extreme.
But having said that, you really need to have your partner's back on this.
Especially because it was a joint decision. So just to shut brother-in-law up, you step in and be like, no, we made this decision together, and it's an 8-year-old flag football team. It's not bad sportsmanship to teach him that family is also important.
I just really don't like that he let the wife take all the blame and didn't jump in at all.
Top comment. Someone calls your wife a bad parent in front of you. You correct them. Loudly.
I 100% agree with that. I mean, you got to be a team.
Somebody replied to that. If you don't, it sounds like you agree with them, especially to your spouse.
I agree with that. Brother-in-law thinks that you agree with him so he can keep berating your wife.
You're the asshole. If you as a couple made this choice to not let kids' activities run your lives, you need to both own up to that. And even if it was just her choice, why would you let your brother-in-law grill her like that? You need to stand up for your partner in situations like this. Which is also fair. Just maybe tell brother-in-law it's not his damn business. Either way.
What I'm really getting out of this is that brother-in-law did not want you there at the Memorial Day festivities. He wished you didn't come. He doesn't like you.
I think brother-in-law is just a sports nut and thinks that youth sports should be put above all other things.
No, let's not do that. I mean, it is good to teach your kids that it's important to be part of a team and that keeping the commitments you make is important. But I feel like that doesn't really apply in this scenario.
Yeah, just because it's a very common holiday to need to go and visit family. Like, Memorial Day is one of those ones where a lot of people leave town.
And it's also important to teach your kids that it's okay if they have certain priorities and put other things lower down on the list. Like in some instances, family time is more important than sports time.
Another comment, you're the asshole. You wouldn't have been playing sidekick. You would have been playing partner. Instead, you left her to deal with it alone. It's a joint decision. I would be bummed if my husband didn't say anything in that circumstance. Someone replied to that comment, dare I say, OP wasn't being a teammate. Perhaps he should go to some sports practices.
I like that.
Another comment, you're the asshole. You and your wife are supposed to be a team, and that means sticking up for each other, especially when it's about a decision you both made together. OP replied, I understand that, but brother-in-law is really serious about sports. They have their own kids who play, so I didn't see the point in trying to argue with him.
Maybe don't argue with him and try to convince him that he's wrong and you're right. Just tell him to shut up because it's none of his business and keep his parenting opinions to himself.
Another comment, you're the asshole. If you agree with her, you stand up for her. However, if you put kids in a team sport, I hope you're not bailing on half the games. There is always that one kid who never turns up to anything on the youth sports.
Yeah. And I do hope they're not doing that and are like making it somewhat of a priority and making most of the practices in all of the games.
OP did reply to that one. Of course not. My son's flag football only goes from April to May anyways for the spring. My daughter's basketball is from March to June, but we really only vacation on school breaks anyway. But Reddit is very unanimous in their opinion on this one. Whether or not you think that sports should be prioritized, you gotta back your spouse up.
Am I wrong for exposing why my sister actually started a petition to get a teacher fired?
I mean, a petition like that should probably have all of its info out in the open, I suppose.
My younger sister is currently finishing her senior year of high school. Last week, she started circulating an online petition to have her literature teacher disciplined or removed. She claims this teacher targets specific students and creates a hostile learning environment. Our parents were fully supporting her and even asked me to share the link in my own profiles. The problem is, I know exactly why she is doing this. I still talk to a few people at the school from when I went there. The literature teacher is known for being strict, but incredibly fair. I pressed my sister privately, and she eventually admitted that she was caught using AI to write her final term paper. The teacher gave her a 0 and reported her for academic dishonesty. Instead of taking the punishment, she decided to twist the narrative and ruin the teacher's reputation.
I mean, that is not a great response to getting disciplined for something that you did. Because using AI to generate your paper, I suppose that is not the point of the class.
I told her she needs to take the petition down immediately because it is completely fabricated and malicious. She refused and said I was being a terrible older sibling. I got frustrated and went straight to her parents, telling them the real reason she failed the class and why the petition exists. Now my parents are furious with her, grounded her for the summer, and forced her to delete the campaign. My sister is crying and saying I ruined the end of her senior year and betrayed her trust. Even my aunt texted me saying I should have stayed out of it and let the school handle the investigation without exposing her secret to our parents. I thought I was stopping a witch hunt, but now I feel guilty. Am I wrong?
I mean, you're not wrong. I don't understand your parents' approach to this at all. What do you mean they supported the petition? Did they not go and talk to the school or anything? They're just like, oh, you're going to start a petition to get one of your teachers fired. Cool. I'm not going to be involved in this at all?
Right? That seems a little weird to me.
That's crazy weird. What the hell are they doing?
I'd be like, what is wrong with this teacher? I'm going to go talk with this teacher myself and get this sorted out.
Yeah, I'm going to go talk with this teacher. I'm going to go talk to the principal. I want to know why my child was flagged for academic dishonesty and got a 0 on an important grade.
Because the teacher is malicious and has it in for her and is creating a hostile learning environment.
Then you need to go in and talk to the teacher and the principal about that. Don't just let your kids start an online petition to get someone fired without
doing your due diligence.
Doing anything, it sounds like. Because I think we all had at least one teacher in high school who probably should not have been a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's just part of the high school experience. There's not enough good teachers to go around. So that person has tenure. They've been there, ruining children's lives for 20 years. Why would they change anything now? So I could fully see circulating a petition, and I could also fully see my principal mass punishing the student body for circulating that petition.
Yeah, like it's not out of the realm of possibility for there to be a justified reason to try and get a teacher fired. But I feel like as a parent, you cannot just take your child's word. You need to like go and figure this out yourself and figure out what's really going on. Is it justified?
I would even say take your child's word for it, but still go in and back them up. Be a supportive parent. You need to show the administration at the school that whatever is going on here, you have your child's back, right? Like, you have to be like, hey, if this teacher is really being an asshole, we aren't going to take this laying down. I'm going to make your life living hell. And if it turns out that your kid is doing something stupid, then you'll find it out and you can be like, hey, I am involved in my child's life. I will help discipline this so that it doesn't spiral out of control on them. Because she's circulating a petition to get a teacher fired. This could have such worse consequences for her than a 0.
Top comment. No, you did the right thing. Had something grave happened to the teacher until the truth got exposed, your sister's future would have been really ruined. Also, malicious behavior should be strongly punished before it becomes a part of her nature. Is this aunt also a bad influence on her?
Yeah, what the hell, aunt? That's really bad advice. Let it get sorted out. That way, she's already graduated and it becomes a matter for the police.
OP replied, my aunt always coddles her. She is one of those people who think that family should cover up anything, even ruining a teacher's life. It drives me crazy. The school wouldn't have done a real investigation anyways. They would have just seen a massive petition and panicked. I just couldn't sit back and watch that happen to someone innocent.
Yeah, there is like a range of responses that a school might do to this. They might just put the teacher on some sort of academic suspension while they investigate it, or they might do absolutely nothing.
I feel like my school would have done absolutely nothing.
Oh, I'm very confident about what I said earlier, where the principal would have called a school meeting and punished literally everyone. He wasn't the worst principal. They made some questionable decisions, now that I'm thinking back. I think it was just like, let's just keep these kids under control and get them the hell out of here in summer. I don't want to deal with these bastards level decisions. Like, burnt out level decisions.
What, your high school wasn't even that big. What are they burnt out about? You're like a little country high school.
It wasn't that little. How big do you think my high school was?
Tiny. I think your whole entire high school was smaller than my graduating class.
We had like 600 kids in our school.
Yeah, and my graduating class was like high 500, 590 something. I don't know.
I feel like you think I went to like a one-room schoolhouse or something.
A little podunk town one-room schoolhouse.
It's not a little podunk town. It's like the biggest town in farming country in the area.
It's still so tiny.
You need to get out of Detroit. This is one of the biggest cities.
But back to the story, another comment. The low character your sister is exhibiting is really concerning. She would rather ruin somebody else's career and reputation rather than take responsibility for her own poor judgment and dishonesty. You absolutely did the right thing.
Yeah, and I think an important point in this story is that parents also think you did the right thing because they rolled back all of their decisions once they learned the truth.
Oh yeah, they grounded her hard. All summer, your senior year, that's rough. Although I guess if she doesn't like it, she's an adult now. She can move out.
Maybe she's an adult. She's at least finished high school.
Probably.
There were always a couple freshmen in college that were like 17.
Yeah, actually, my sister was 17 when she started college. It was like just 2 weeks before she turned 18. But yeah, it does happen sometimes. Someone said, if the poster didn't intervene, the sister would have learned that she can get away with anything by playing the victim. If she tried this stunt in college, she would have been expelled immediately and probably sued. This punishment is actually a blessing in disguise for her.
Yeah, I kind of feel like sister should just hope that the punishment does not extend beyond what her parents are doing. Because there still was a petition. Hopefully that just gets swept under the rug. At least from sister's point of view, hopefully that should just get swept under the rug.
And, like, the teacher did report her for academic dishonesty for using AI and stuff. So, like, It's not out of the realm of possibility that they wouldn't let her graduate. So there could be a lot worse consequences than being grounded.
Yeah, there really might be. There could be ramifications for her college applications, which might be why she was trying this, because that looks awfully bad on your college applications if it's so fresh, too.
Actually, she should have already gotten acceptance letters, right?
Yeah, I don't really know if colleges check back in.
I don't know either.
They probably check back in to make sure you graduated or something, but I don't know if they bothered to check back in about the academic policies.
You're not wrong. Is your sister even going to graduate? And someone replied, honestly, that's what I'm curious about too. A 0 on a major term paper near graduation can be a pretty big deal, depending on the class and the school policies. The petition may have been a panic reaction after realizing how serious the situation was.
Yeah, I don't know. Being able to generate papers with AI has really, changed the academic game. And I feel like I hear about students getting reported for academic dishonesty so much more often than before.
I am so glad AI was not a thing when we went to college. I don't know. How do you even fight that if someone accuses you of AI? And how do you prove that you actually wrote the paper?
You don't. There's nothing you can do. It's like a witch hunt from that end, too. The people that accuse you of using AI are also holding torches and pitchforks. Those companies that have programs that are yeah, this paper that the student submitted is 80% AI. And then, no, it's not. And there's no negative consequences for that company when they false flag things. So they just, I make more money when I false flag things.
And they're using AI to false flag things.
Yeah.
Use AI to detect AI. It's a vicious cycle. It's not fun.
You can't say the letters A and I without somebody sharpening a pitchfork. And honestly, that might be a good thing. Maybe we need to have sharp pitchforks for this one.
False accusations can and do ruin lives. Your sister was due a wake-up call. She owes that teacher an apology. You were not wrong, but your sister was and your aunt is. And that's pretty much Reddit's opinion. Your sister really sucks for this, and it was right to tattle on her to your parents. I mean, tattling's not cool, but there are instances where it is warranted, and this was one of them.
Hey, did you know that 55% of the people that watch these videos aren't subscribed to our channel yet? And I just want to say, 45% of people being subscribed to your channel is actually really high. Keep up the good work, everybody.
Yeah, we were checking stats, and most people have less than 20% of their viewers following them. So these are awesome stats.
So thanks for being such a good audience. We really appreciate you guys. Am I the asshole for being impatient with a woman at the butcher counter?
Man, I need more information. There's a lot of reasons to get impatient with people out in public, but there's also so many people out there overreacting to their impatience for people in public.
This afternoon, I went up to the butcher counter at a local supermarket. In line ahead of me, a mother and her teenage daughter couldn't make up their minds about sausages, of which there were a dozen to choose from. Are those good? I heard sweet molinari are good. By the way, they are. What are those? The one counter person was doing her best to answer and be helpful. I'm standing by, taking it all in, when a woman and her husband walk up. The mother and her daughter continue to discuss sausage options, especially what the daughter likes and doesn't like. She can't make up her mind. The mother finally decides on 4 sweet Sicilian sausages. They are weighed and come up short of the amount she wants. She wants another sweet, but is told that those are the last 4. This sets off another lengthy discussion between mother and daughter. Will a spicy one be all right? Daughter wrinkles her nose. Mother points to the case and says, those look like sweet ones. She's told they're not, but they look like it. More discussion. The husband rolls his eyes and walks away. The woman who came up behind me and I exchange a look. Mother finally decides on the 4 sweet sausages, and that's it. The counter person is about to wrap them up, and she says, can you take off the skins? So she does. It takes more time than I expect. Also, who asks for the skins to be taken off? A good cook does that at home. She gets the 4 sweet, naked of their skins, and then says, you know what? We'll take a spicy one too. This involves a discussion of the level of spicy of each sausage. A decision is made, and again, as the counter woman is about to wrap it, she asks for the skin to be removed.
I should have seen that coming.
I think counter woman, why was counter woman even trying to wrap it? Just say, hey, do you want the skin off this one too? At this point, I've been standing there 8 minutes and the other woman 7. Under my breath, I mutter, Jesus Christ. The mother turns to the woman next to me and says, that's rude. This is a counter. It takes time. Saying Jesus is rude. I say, it wasn't her, it was me. The woman next to me says, and he's right, you're taking forever. Mother and daughter say to us both, you're just rude. In a high sing-song whiny voice, I say, I want the skins off. I can't do it myself. I don't like it.
Okay, you're taking it a little far.
The woman and her daughter get their meat, and the mother says to me, you're immature, you're 12. I say, I'm more like 8, maybe 9. Actually over 50. Mother and daughter storm off, again saying, you're 12, that's how you act. The other woman and I share a nice moment. I get that sometimes an order takes time, and up to a point, I was even patient. What annoyed me about this mother and her daughter was their smug cluelessness and utter entitlement that allowed them to ignore the fact other people are waiting. The other woman and I agreed that if the mother had at some point said, I'm sorry I'm taking so much time, we both would have cut her some slack. So, are they the asshole?
Everybody sucks here. I mean, it is really rude to just hold up a line for forever. If I didn't know exactly what I wanted, I would tell the person behind me, hey, you go ahead. I'm going to stare at these options for a little bit. Maybe Google what these different flavors are, so I will be prepared to quickly order what I want.
Yeah, but that's kind of the point of the counter, is that there's a person to help you. And you don't need to Google. They're right there, so you should be able to talk to the employee and try to figure out what the difference between stuff is.
Yes, but you can still do that and do it in a timely manner. If you're going to be so wishy-washy about what you want, let the person behind you go while you sit there and decide.
Or you could even just ask the person at the butcher counter, hey, I wanted another sweet sausage. Can you give me whichever one you think is the closest?
Yeah, I feel like this person was not being considerate of everybody else's time, which is kind of rude. But also, like, this guy is mad that she's asking to have the skins removed. If that is something that the service station and the service worker, like, offers as a service, you can't get mad about them doing it.
No, but she's not a real chef because she doesn't want to cut the skin off of the sausage herself.
I mean, personally, I feel like that is kind of gross. I don't know if I want to do that. The skin icks me out.
If I go to the butcher counter, which I rarely do, honestly, I expect there to be a long wait because there's always somebody in front at the butcher counter asking questions, or they need a specific cut. Like, that's why you go up to that counter. You're like, hey, I would like that meat and I would like it cut this way.
Yeah, you do gotta expect a little bit of a wait at these kind of places.
If you don't care about how the meat is cut, you go to the deli aisle and you buy the packaged stuff.
Yeah, and this is why everyone sucks. I mean, you gotta expect a little bit of a wait at the counter. But it's also, you can't just take forever to make all of your decisions. That's rude. But it's also rude to call someone out on that when they're just trying to ask questions from the person at the counter.
Sounds like mother and daughter don't know as much about sausage as you do, guy. Maybe be a little patient with them. Do you think 7 minutes is a crazy amount of time to wait? It's not a short amount of time. I don't know. I have definitely been behind people who take that long at a counter. Like, if you're at the grocery store and you're waiting in the checkout line and the person in front of you says, hey, can I get a pack of cigarettes? And the cashier has to walk to the service desk and get cigarettes. That takes like an extra 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it sucks, but what are you going to do about it? It's a service they offer. You can't get mad about it, really.
And then OP, of course, has to escalate it to the point where he's muttering under his breath instead of just, I don't know, wander off and shop somewhere else.
That's what I was just going to say. I was like, if this was taking too long, after like 3 or 4 minutes in, I'd be like, ugh, I'll just come back in like 10 minutes and see if the line is gone. Go do some other shopping and come back if it's annoying you this much.
Yeah, and then going into like a mocking voice about their sausage questions. Come on, you are 12.
And this is where I feel like everybody sucks, but you're a little bit more the asshole. You like made this from an annoyance into a full-on confrontation.
Yeah, I think the mother and daughter suck in like an oblivious way. Like they're oblivious to the fact that they're inconveniencing other people. You suck in a way because you're just an asshole.
Yeah, that is a good way to put it.
Then jumping into comments. You're the asshole. Learn how to wait in line. The comments about how a good cook knows how to take off the skins was uncalled for. Maybe someone else will be cooking these and they are new to cooking. Maybe there are sensory issues at play here. Maybe they just don't like doing it. Sure, it would have been nice of them if they had let you go ahead. But how did they know if you would be quicker or have a very long list? The point is, they were ahead of you. Learn some patience. You could have wandered off to do other shopping and come back. You could have played a game on your phone. You could have composed a concerto in your head. I find all sorts of ways to amuse myself while standing in line. You are not the most important person ever. Your little tantrum shows that you have some growing up to do. And I feel like I should add in, sounds like maybe the butcher counter was a little understaffed at the time.
I don't know, helping one person and 2 more people in line, that doesn't sound like that much to me. Like, I'm not even sure I would have called up another worker.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking, like, if you got 2 people working the counter, then the slow person could take up 1 employee while the other employee keeps people moving. But yeah, I don't know. A line of 3 people isn't that big, is it?
Yeah, I mean, like, if another person was available and I realized this lady was taking forever, I might have called them up. But generally, for a line of 3 people total, I would have been like, oh, we'll get through them. And I wouldn't have thought to call another coworker to come help me.
Yeah, because when I was a cashier, if you had a huge line, you had the option to pick up the phone next to your cash register and be like, hey, can I get somebody to back me up because we've got a lot of customers waiting? I don't know, but there was just like a 2-person line, so I feel like I can't get too mad at the employee. They're just trying to shuffle people through as best they can. Another comment, you're the asshole. Entitlement? She's literally doing shopping. It takes whatever it takes. By your own logic, you're also acting entitled. This establishment doesn't owe you their services. But Reddit, I feel like they're mostly leaning you're the asshole, but there's a lot of not the assholes mixed in too. Not the asshole, people should be respectful of those around them. If there was a line and they weren't sure what they wanted, they should have stepped aside and allowed the other customers to make their purchases while they discussed their personal preferences. Making everyone else at the counter the audience to their performance is in fact a waste of everyone's time. As a retail worker, this kind of rude, entitled customer is a sadly common one, and I guarantee you the worker at the counter told everyone they knew about you at the end of the day as the best thing that happened to them.
Wow, sounds like that person has had some rough customers.
But going back to when I was a cashier, there were a couple times where I just had the most annoying customer who would not stop asking me questions and just holding up the line and taking like 40 things through the 10 item or less lane, and I couldn't stop them.
And then trying to use coupons and fighting over with you about the expired coupons. Why won't you still take them?
Yeah, and a couple times the guy behind them did be like, lady, get out of the way. And I was like, I can't react, but I love that man.
When I worked at Baskin Robbins, I had a group come in, and they wanted to try every single flavor of ice cream. You know how Baskin Robbins will give you a little sample spoon of ice cream? They tried so many flavors. I was like, do you even have room for ice cream anymore? And it took forever because there was a bunch of them, and they all wanted to try a bunch of different flavors. And I'm like, you're holding up the line.
Is there a point where you're allowed to cut them off?
I mean, there probably was, but they didn't go over with that with me at training. So, I mean, I assume there is a limit on how many samples you could have, but I didn't know what it was, and I was afraid of them getting mad at me. So I just, sure, have another sample. Thankfully, I was not alone, though. So my coworker was moving other people through the line so nobody got too mad.
Well, that's good that you at least had backup. Sounds like this poor butcher didn't. I personally can't get too mad at the lady for asking questions. That's kind of why the person is there. Like, I know they're going slow and they didn't really know what they wanted. They wanted sausage, and then they get up to the counter and there's 12 damn options.
That is a lot of different kinds of sausage.
But also, yeah, try to pick a little faster.
Am I wrong for telling my brother his son's science project was factually incorrect when he asked for my opinion?
I mean, that seems like important feedback, but he asked for your opinion, not your facts.
My brother called me 2 Sundays ago specifically to ask what I thought. That detail matters. His son is 14 and built a project on climate feedback loops for a regional science competition. My brother was proud and wanted a second opinion before submission because I have background in environmental engineering. He sent me photos of the poster and the written report. The project had a genuinely good structure and clearly took effort, but there were 2 significant factual errors in the core argument. Not minor things, actual misunderstandings of how methane release and permafrost interact. The kind of errors that judges with any science background would catch immediately.
Kinda sounds like maybe nephew should have checked in with you at an earlier stage in the project.
I told my brother honestly. I said the presentation looks great, the effort is obvious, but these 2 specific claims are inaccurate, and here's why. I even offered to get on a call with his son to walk through the corrections together. No big deal, still plenty of time before the deadline. My brother did not receive this well. He said I was undermining his kid's confidence right before a competition, and that if he wanted criticism, he would have asked a teacher.
What did he want? A thumbs up? I support you?
I reminded him that he did ask me, specifically because of my background. He hasn't responded to my last 2 messages. My sister-in-law texted my wife saying I made their son cry, which I genuinely did not know happened and feel bad about. But the project had real errors, and the kid asked his dad for help, and his dad asked me.
Sorry, remind me how old this kid is?
14.
Okay.
I don't know what my brother expected me to say. Am I the asshole?
I mean, it doesn't sound like you're the asshole. They asked your opinion, and it turns out you're an expert on this topic, so you said, hey, there's some problems with your core argument, and my opinion is you should throw this all in the garbage and do it over. Which, as a 14-year-old who doesn't really care about this science project, I might also cry as a result of that. Because I don't want to do that.
He didn't say throw it in the garbage, and he was offering to walk the kid through it and help him correct his mistakes.
Okay, but it's in his core argument. I feel like walking the kid through it and helping him correct his mistakes involves throwing it all in the garbage.
Okay, it kind of does. But also, how would this kid feel if his uncle gave him the okay, and then he took this to the competition and the judges were like, this is wrong, you fail, last place.
In high school science competitions, not all the points are based on how correct you are, I don't think, right? There's points for presentation, there's points for effort, there's points for, yeah, your core premise was wrong, but everything past that point was right. So you still get points for that. I feel like he's still going to get, partial points for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I never did any science fair project thingies past grade school, so.
I haven't either, but I've heard about enough people that had to. And honestly, half the stories I heard were they glance at your project, go, looks like you put in a lot of effort. Give you at least an 80% right there. Because this is just making me think of my old high school math teacher. And you'd get there'd be tests where they'd tell you to do this formula and then take that number you get and do the next part and the next part and the next part. And if you got that first part wrong, she wouldn't then mark the next 5 questions wrong. She would take that number from the first part and put it into the second part to see if you got it right with the wrong number.
So it was, you showed your work, and your work is good, you just made a little mistake somewhere near the beginning.
Right. And I feel like that's probably the correct way to handle a high school level science project. The judge will be like, well, you got this part wrong right here, but the rest of this is pretty damn good.
But still, with this big of a mistake, he's probably not going to take first place.
Yeah, he's probably not. I don't know if first place is his goal.
First place should always be the goal. We're winners. Winners win. No losers in this family.
Throw this project in the trash and start over, you loser.
But I do feel like brothers shouldn't be mad at you. They came to you for your professional opinion because you have experience in this field, and you gave them legitimate feedback. And we're like, and you weren't all negative. You were like, hey, this looks really great. You did excellent work on this, except for this mistake that is factually incorrect.
Did OP only talk to his brother?
It sounds like yes, everything was fed through the brother as a mediator between him and his nephew.
So brother made the kid cry.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sorry. If I tell you something and then you go and tell the other party and that makes the other party cry, I'm going to assume you did a shitty delivery.
Top comment. No, you weren't wrong. Facts matter in competitions. Someone replied, your brother literally asked for your professional opinion and then got mad when you gave it. Makes 0 sense. If the kid cried, that's on how your brother handled telling him, not on you pointing out actual errors that would have tanked his chances anyways.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm just surprised that if they were comfortable calling you to check over the final product, why didn't they call you at the beginning to consult on it before he got it all down on paper? Poster board ain't cheap. It's really not. Why is poster board so expensive, Kristie?
I don't know. I really love this comment. Crying and science go hand in hand. That kid is on the right track. And as a scientist, I have to say that is 100% correct.
It really is. He's passionate about this.
Also, science is hard, and sometimes things don't go like they're supposed to, and it's really frustrating, and it makes me cry.
And somebody far meaner than your uncle is going to yell at you once you're over a certain age. Back in college, did you ever have the opportunity to attend any like graduate student lectures for extra credit in any of your courses?
No.
I did in a couple courses. I think the main purpose was to get like extra bodies in the seats, personally. I don't think they cared about what I took out of the lecture. I think they cared that the student had more people looking at them.
Okay, yeah.
One of them that I went to, there was some professor from the faculty, not the professor in charge of the course that the grad student was taking, who just sat in the room and pretty much heckled that poor girl.
Oh, that's terrible.
I don't know if that was just like, if that was part of the experience to have an asshole in the room who pokes holes at everything with his own opinions. And I was a junior in college at this point. I knew enough to know that his opinions were opinions, not facts. I'm there for extra credit. It is not my job to tell this guy to shut the hell up.
But was that teacher like actually an asshole? Or were they playing an asshole to like prepare the student to get ready to defend their dissertation and get used to having people poking it like their capstone project?
I have been asking myself that for over a decade, Kristie. But the point I'm trying to make is that I'm sure Uncle was far nicer than this guy. So at a certain point, Uncle is like training wheels for the absolute asshole who is going to sit in the middle of a lecture hall and yell at you.
I'm sorry for your nephew. He could have learned something, and instead your brother stopped him from expanding his knowledge. You're not wrong. OP replied, that's the part that actually bothers me most. Like, the kid put real effort in. He deserves accurate feedback. A wrong model of how permafrost works isn't going to help him at the competition either.
I kind of also want to know how big of an error the kid made. Like, is this the kind of misunderstanding that stems from them giving like a high schooler more of a general education than a specialized education? Like, was he correct according to his textbook?
I don't think so. 2 significant factual errors, not minor things, actual misunderstandings of how methane release and permafrost interact.
Okay, so probably just a misunderstanding then, not OP being hyper focused in on this topic.
Well, I mean, your science class overly simplified this for your tiny little 14-year-old brains to understand. But what's really going on is this super complex interaction that you will not be able to wrap your brain around.
Now let me talk at you for the next 6 hours about methane.
No, I don't think it was that.
Okay, good. Because there is always a slight chance that anybody who claims to be in the science field, you accidentally triggered their special interest.
Another comment, you didn't make your nephew cry, your brother did. You never spoke with the nephew. I'm sure had you would have explained it to him correctly and would have helped him to correct it. Since you told your brother, there's a good chance he went and told his son and probably accused you of doing something you didn't do. Someone else says, his confidence is going to take a harder hit if he's told he's wrong and needs to explain it on the spot to a stranger. Science has peer review for a reason. Everyone makes mistakes, and that's a normal part of life. Kids need to learn how to deal with mistakes, correct them, and hopefully move past them. Shielding them from mistakes does not benefit them.
At 14 years old, I feel like our sisters would make our nephews or nieces call us themselves to have something reviewed.
Oh yeah, I think they definitely would. But we are very close with our nieces and nephews.
I mean, that's true. I just feel like they also treat that as an opportunity to like, hey, you're going to have to learn how to call people.
Oh yeah, that is a life skill you need to use. And like people are not used to doing it these days. And I hate it. So I totally understand being like intimidated by making a phone call, even to someone I like and I'm comfortable with. But yeah, I could totally see my sisters using this as an excuse to, hey, you need to learn how to make phone calls.
And your aunt and uncle are not going to be mean to you. So call them.
But overall, Reddit really says not the asshole. It's better that the kid found out that he was wrong now than like at the competition.
Am I overreacting? Wife informed me rather than discussed with me.
Well, that doesn't seem like a very good partnership. I feel like in a marriage, things should be discussed, not, decided on their own.
Yesterday, my wife texted me that she would be driving an hour away this evening at 3 p.m. to go pick up some kids' kayaks. I work from home, but technically my workday doesn't end until 5. Although usually I am pretty much done with the day by 4. She didn't provide any explanation for who would be watching our kids who are 6 and 7, so I asked, and who exactly is going to be watching the kids? She replied, I'll figure out how to bring them with me. To me, it felt like she wanted me to stop work early and watch the kids. I responded with, yeah, I guess you will. Seems like another thing you planned without any discussion with me. I was just supposed to stop work early?
Dude, I think you're like reading too much into this and being really passive aggressive about it.
I'm not sure if this still counts as passive aggression.
It's kind of openly aggressive, but kind of pawning it off as passive aggressive.
Her response was, I've been waiting for a good deal to jump on. Things go quick, so had to seize the opportunity. I didn't ask you to watch the kids. Today, she was upset and said I overreacted.
Yeah, I think you did.
That she's not a child and doesn't have to ask permission to do things. And that she wasn't asking me to watch the kids and could get the kayaks without my help. I said communicating the plan fully and including that she intended to bring the kids, or asking outright for help, would have eliminated this issue. Instead, her message felt cryptic, and like she was implying without asking that she expected me to watch the kids. So, am I overreacting and treating her like a child? Or is this an example of poor communication like I feel it is?
You're way overreacting. First of all, you don't know that she intended you to watch the kids. She could have not mentioned who was watching the kids because she assumed you're working. I'm going to pick up kayaks, but I'll obviously take the kids with me because you're working. Maybe she didn't think she needed to say that because she figured you would know.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything in her message to imply that she expected you to just stop working and watch the kids.
And then she's like, well, I'll just take them with me. And you're like, yeah, you will. That is rude. I don't know if I would tolerate someone talking to me like that.
Also, I guess I don't know like the details and how in-depth OP's job is. They're working from home. If she leaves at 3, that's like 2 hours of overlap where he is technically working and is responsible for the kids. Personally, I think that's doable.
At the age of 6 and 7, yes, put on a movie and plop them in front of the TV.
Yeah, they're not going to catch on fire if they're the next room over. Like, most 6 and 7-year-olds can survive for 2 hours at a time, and then you're off work, and then you get to watch them because you're a parent.
And I mean, it does matter how you've raised your kids. Do they know it's not okay to come and interrupt you while they're working? As long as you get them set up with a TV show and some snacks and stuff, do they know not to come bother you for every little thing? As my mom would say, don't bother me unless someone's bleeding or something's on fire.
Yeah, it does depend on the 6 and 7-year-old. But I think most of them, yeah, let them play a video game. That you don't need to be hovering. So I'm not even sure I agree with their original premise of, like, I can't watch them, I'm working. But once again, I don't know their job. Maybe they do work the type of job where if there is an emergency, I cannot stop doing this. Most work-from-home jobs do not fall into that category, though.
I mean, unless you're in the middle of, like, a meeting.
Yeah, like meetings with, like, a client. You could get in a lot of trouble if you're like, hey, no, sorry, my kid is screaming in the next room. Having said that, though, I have been in meetings in advertising now. Not a high priority job. But I have had somebody be like, sorry, my kid is just doing something in the next room. Can I pause for like 5 minutes? Go get a coffee.
Yeah, I mean, you can pause some meetings, but there are some professions where that would be very unprofessional.
Yeah, I mean, if OP does something like online psychology, like, probably can't pause your meeting because your kids are being loud in the next room.
But I feel like she didn't even ask or imply that he was expected to watch the kids, and he's getting so worked up over it. I feel like this isn't poor communication on her part. This is him making assumptions, like because he was grumpy and he just wants to be mad about something. From the title, I thought this was going to be something way worse, like, my wife told me she's buying a car, instead of discussing it with me. No, this is, hey, I'm running to pick up some kayaks off of Facebook Marketplace. Like, this is like, she's just running an errand. Does she need to notify you of every single errand she runs?
Yeah, and OP's not mad about the fact that she's buying children's kayaks, so I have to assume that they're in agreement that they need children's kayaks.
It's not a financial issue they're having. It's a who's in charge of the kids, and he thinks that you expect him to be in charge of the kids, and you're like, no, I'll take them with me. Although she did say, well, I guess I'll figure out how to take them with me. Do you think that means she was hoping he would offer to watch the kids? Because it would be a lot easier to go pick up kayaks without kids tagging along.
Yeah, I mean, that is fair. He is their dad, though.
But he's at work.
I mean, he is at work. I don't know how his job functions, so that could be a valid excuse. Top comment, you're overreacting. Wow, she does not actually have to get your permission, and she told you that. So now you come ask us, why is this something that warranted discussion instead of informing? I don't see anything here that needed to be a group decision. She didn't ask you to watch them. You assumed that's what she meant and got mad based on an assumption. Your assumptions are not her fault. Your fifis are not hers to manage. What's a fifi?
Feelings? I don't know.
Another comment starts by quoting him. So I asked, and who exactly is going to be watching the kids? Damn, that's an annoying thing to say. Being passive-aggressive is an extremely bad look. Getting actually mad at someone who talks like that is not an overreaction. I'm amazed you even wrote the things you said, because how could any normal person think those are normal things to say? You sound like an extreme a-hole, and yes, you're extremely overreacting.
It seems so disrespectful when the way he phrased things, and like I feel like the inflection that was implied.
Yeah, somebody replied to that comment. The exactly pushes it from, that's a bit terse to, Jesus, what an asshole, so fast.
Yeah, if he was just like, and who's watching the kids? But no, and who exactly is watching the kids? And you have to say it in that voice, and who exactly is watching the kids? You can't just be like, and who exactly is watching the kids? Because you know that's not how he said it.
Well, it was text form, but I can't think of any other way to say it. Who exactly is watching the kids? You gotta put emphasis on the exactly. Otherwise, why is it there? Who exactly is watching the kids?
That doesn't even make sense, right?
It still sounds really terse. You're overreacting. You jumped to the assumption she was asking you to watch the kids and got mad about something you created in your head. She doesn't need to ask you permission to go anywhere, and it seems like she was able to take the kids with her no problem. You're overreacting and an asshole. Somebody replied, and God forbid if she does ask him to watch his own fucking kids.
I mean, I agree with that, but I also disagree with it because he is at work. If he was actually at a workplace job, not work from home, he wouldn't be able to watch the kids. And I kind of feel like you need to be able to concentrate on your job when you're supposed to be working your job, even if it's from home.
You're right. That is fair. It is hard to get too mad at somebody who is at their 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, like I really hate people who are like, well, you're work from home. You can just watch the kids while you're working from home. No, I can't. I got stuff to do.
It's people who have you're working from home so you can stop working and help with the kids. People with that attitude are why everybody's being dragged back to the office.
People are not being as productive at home as they should be because they're watching their kids while they're supposed to be working or doing laundry while they're supposed to be working.
It's just the people who assume that are then talking to the owners of the company who are like, yeah, those lazy bastards. Never mind the fact that I'm a salary employee, so I get paid by getting the job done. I don't have minimum hours. And then one last comment. Assuming makes an ass out of you and me, so don't assume something that isn't said. When she said, I'll figure it out, you could have said, all right, sounds good. You didn't have to fire back with, yeah, I guess you will. That sounds weirdly hostile. So in my opinion, you're overreacting and being kind of a jerk. I grant that her last-minute kayak trip isn't exactly, well, planned, but she didn't explicitly ask you to watch the kids or cut work early, and from what you're saying, she didn't even seem to think she was implying that when she responded to you. So Reddit is not backing OP up here. Your response there's no way anyone can read it as anything but just a little too aggressive for responding to your wife's text message.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to figure out tone, like in text message format, but this text message, it definitely had a tone.
Yeah, I think the word exactly has a very set in stone tone.
And then, yeah, I guess you will.
Yeah, that's just looking for a fight.
Yeah, I really feel like OP went into this whole interaction already mad and looking for a fight.
That's just not a good way to text with your spouse, especially over kayaks.
Hey guys, we're getting a little bit of a thunderstorm here and it's messing with our audio. So we're going to take a break and we will finish the rest of the episode later and be back.
Yeah, we're mostly just cutting in to tell you that because we're probably going to have a wardrobe change and to excuse the last 5 minutes of raindrops in the video. So we'll see you soon.
Am I the asshole for telling my friend's nephew that he probably killed a starfish?
I mean, I guess it depends on how you told him, but the truth is usually the best option.
I, 27 male, was invited by a friend, 26 female, to a family party about a week ago. We had a great time and I got along really well with her family. It was chill gathering, nothing overly energetic, just singing, dancing, and chatting with everyone.
Sorry, did they say that their chill gathering included singing and dancing?
Yes, they did mention that. And I have not been to many a gathering where there was singing and dancing at a chill gathering.
Maybe their family's just more fun than ours.
About an hour before the party ended, around 20 of us were having a conversation around the table. My friend mentioned to everyone that I had a bachelor's degree in biology and that I'm currently finishing my master's. Suddenly, her family started asking me tons of questions about ecology, evolution, and genetics. I really enjoyed being the center of attention, not gonna lie, haha. I also shared stories about my university field trips and how my professors taught us to handle wildlife properly. Then, her nephew, 8 male, interrupted to tell me about a school beach trip he took with his classroom. We don't live near the coast. His mom, 32 female, my friend's sister, showed me some pictures his teacher had taken of him while playing with a starfish. He was incredibly enthusiastic, explaining that he had taken it out of the water for a while to protect it because his classmates were trying to feed it to the fish. When he finished, I told him coldly but kindly that he had most likely killed the starfish.
What kind of tone is coldly but kindly?
Right, those are kind of contradictory, right?
I think so.
I explained to him that taking them out of the water essentially drowns them, especially for such an extended period of time. He got extremely upset, stormed off to his room, and started crying. Well, not just crying, but screaming. I felt terrible, like I had just crushed a kid's dream of becoming a future biologist. When he started crying, my friend and her family, especially her sister, seemed quite bothered by my comment, and the atmosphere became incredibly awkward. I tried to apologize a couple of times, but they basically ignored me for the rest of the gathering. When it was time to leave, my friend told me, in a serious manner, that I shouldn't have said that to him and that I had acted like an asshole to a little kid.
I'm starting to suspect that his tone was a little more cold than kind.
She said, "No child needs to know that they killed an animal, dude. You could have kept that to yourself." Am I the asshole?
This is kind of a tough one because I feel like you should tell kids, like, hey, that is bad for the animal so that they don't do it again.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they had good intentions because their classmates were trying to feed the starfish to other fish.
But there is a nice way to correct a child's behavior and teach them.
Right, and maybe you didn't need to speak in absolutes about whether or not the starfish is dead. Like, hey, I'm glad you tried to help. You actually shouldn't keep them out of the water for that long.
Yeah, like, oh, that's really nice, but maybe next time do this instead if you really want to help the starfish, because they don't like being out of the water that long.
Yeah, they are 8. Nobody knows everything at 8, and they were trying to be a good person.
Top comment, you're the asshole. You could have worded it much better. Something like, it's nice you were trying to protect the starfish, but it can be harmful to take them out of the water. It's better to leave them be.
Starfish don't just die instantly when you take them out of the water.
Okay, he does have an edit to address something. I'm seeing my credentials questioned in several comments. The species was a red cushioned star, Oreaster reticulatus. I know that the kid most probably had killed it because he implied that he took it out of the water for most of the time that they spent at the beach, about an hour or two.
Okay, maybe include that in your initial post, because the way he wrote it, I assumed it was like to take a quick photo and then transfer it away from the other students.
Right, that's what I thought too, like pick it up and just move it out of the way of other children.
Right.
No, he carried it around with him for 2 hours. Like, look, I'm saving this starfish.
Yeah, that is very different.
You're the asshole. Coldly but kindly is a contradiction. And then someone replied, yeah, I'm having trouble picturing what kind of tone that would be. Whatever it was, I don't see how that would be an appropriate way to talk to an 8-year-old.
Yeah, I spent a lot of the time when you were reading trying to picture what coldly but kindly would sound like, and I have no idea. You're trying to figure it out and you can't, can you?
Nope.
It's like The closest I can get is like sternly but kindly, which even then is still kind of a contradiction.
Someone else thinks you're the asshole-ish. I work in animal welfare, so I get it, but you wasted what could have been an age-appropriate teachable moment into a harsh life lesson that probably instigated guilt and shame into a little kid.
Yeah, because I do think it is important to teach the kid, hey, that was very bad for the starfish, it probably died. Just without the cold tone.
Like, there's an age-appropriate way to do that. Kids are sensitive at 8, and like, if I found out that I had accidentally killed an animal when I was 8 years old, it would have been devastating.
Yeah, it really would have been.
It would still be devastating.
Yeah, because he was trying to help, and it sounds like his teachers didn't know any better either. Or didn't know that he had it out of the water that long. I don't know. Didn't they take a photo of him?
Yeah, the teacher did take a photo. So the teacher knew he had the starfish, but probably thought, they're tidal creatures. They don't need to be in the water all the time. It's fine.
And some starfish, I think, can last out of the water a lot longer than other ones. Sounds like this one is on the lower end. At least I think some starfish can last longer out of the water than other ones. I'm not actually very knowledgeable about starfish.
People in the comments are saying that there are starfish that can last for hours. And OP replied that yes, but this is not one of those. Okay. So it sounds like, yes, some species can last for hours. This one can't.
Okay, gotcha.
Another comment. Personally, I think that kids should learn that good intentions don't guarantee good outcomes. But you probably should have been less blunt about it. You're the asshole.
Bluntness is one of those things that should be more reserved for like an adult or somebody who's not trying to do the right thing.
So this commenter summarizes what OP was saying. I was enjoying being the center of attention. 8-year-old interrupted. I coldly called him an animal murder in front of his whole family. And then they continue. You're the asshole. You humiliated that kid for no reason. You went from being cool scientist dude to pretentious lecturer in every one of those people's minds. Because it was too hard for you to gently tell the child that their rescue efforts were misguided. Surely your professors have talked to you about how to not alienate people who actually care about the earth. You're the asshole.
OP did use the word interrupted, didn't he?
He did. And like he was enjoying the attention. He liked, being the smarty pants in the gathering.
I mean, I can't fault OP for being honest, especially in an Am I the Asshole post where they should be giving as much information as possible. But saying that the 8-year-old interrupted by contributing to the conversation, maybe they weren't interrupting. Maybe they were joining in.
Okay, and then one final edit from OP. I'm realizing now I was indeed the asshole. I definitely could have worded my message better. I need to learn how to deliver a message without traumatizing somebody.
That's fair, especially if OP starts working at an aquarium or something. You don't want to be the mean biologist that talks to the school groups coming on a tour.
Yeah, you really don't want to have a whole class of crying students next time.
Am I the asshole for refusing to play AI-generated music at a wedding?
Ooh, that is tough. Because I am anti-AI generated music. Some of it is really good and I really like it. And then I find out it's AI generated. I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's really disappointing because you know that they robbed everybody to make that.
Yeah. So I really don't like AI music. But at the same point, you're a DJ and you're being paid to play what the bride and groom want you to play. I don't know. This is tough.
The title just about sums it up. My sister-in-law asked me to DJ her wedding a few weeks back. I own some decent speakers, and I'm the music person in the family, so I said I'd be happy to. Fast forward to today, the day before the wedding. I messaged her asking for the list of scheduled songs, father-daughter dance, etc., and she sent back half a dozen songs generated using some random AI song generator.
Oh, that's not cool. That's a lot of AI generated music. But also, did you say the day before?
Yes, they're doing this the day before.
No, you should have had this sorted out weeks ago.
Now, I'm not strongly anti-AI like some people. I use it for work and to answer random questions. But I'm a semi-professional musician, and music has been my passion for most of my life. It honestly feels immoral for me to publicly support AI music like this. I haven't responded to her yet. She sent the songs, and I just left her on red. But I'll have to see her this evening for the dress rehearsal. I am pretty set on telling her that she can use our equipment and I'll help set up, but I won't be the person on stage controlling the playlist if it includes any AI music. TLDR, my sister-in-law wants me to play AI-generated music for her wedding, and I'm planning on saying no. So are they the asshole?
Okay, that is a very strong stance to take on AI-generated music, that you won't even play it. for someone that has requested it. Now, I don't think sister-in-law is paying you, so that gives you a little bit more leeway in like what you can demand and not demand.
Yeah. Is it weird that if I'm doing a favor for a family member, I would be more lenient on what I do than if I'm being paid?
Maybe. I mean, I might too. I mean, I would let my family get away with a lot.
Right? Like, I need these people to continue liking me. Whereas if it's a job and I have this firm stance, I just lose out on money. Although hopefully I'm not doing it the day before the wedding.
But also just like he is very firm on this stance. He has strong beliefs about AI music generation, which I get. And like music is his career, so I kind of get it. But also, does it really hurt anyone if you play AI generated music at someone's wedding?
I think the stance most people that are against it are going to be taking is AI music hurts all the people that were robbed when they trained the LLM.
Okay, yeah, so it's pulling music from a lot of actual artists and then using that to learn how to make music. So it is, the artists are not getting paid for that. I do get that. I do also feel like you should just be supporting real artists and not AI music. But like, is this one of those things where you can force your beliefs on other people?
On their wedding day?
Yeah.
All right, and there are 3 updates.
Oh, that is a lot of updates.
So let's read the first update. A lot of people are pointing out that I should have had this conversation with her sooner. I did try. I've been messaging her for more than 3 weeks asking for these songs, and this morning was the first time I heard about the AI music. A few people have mentioned her wedding, her choice, or as the DJ, your job is just to play what she wants. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm not getting paid for this. I am a musician, and I'd have to be on stage running the equipment. I worried that would impact my reputation, since I occasionally produce music for contracts with strict no AI policies.
I don't know if I agree with that last part. Yes, you are a musician, but you are not creating music and playing your own music on stage as the DJ. You are just playing other people's music. Also, nobody who is at the wedding is going to know that you produce music that have strict no AI content policies. And you're not producing music under those contracts. You're just playing music at a random side event.
But what if one of the guests is like the CEO of a record label, Kristie?
Well, then I guess you're screwed. But the chances of that seem so minuscule. I feel like it'd be better to make your sister happy and play the stupid music.
I've asked my spouse, her sibling, to talk to her first since they have a closer relationship. And I've set up a time in 30 minutes to talk with her about it in person. Currently, I'm planning on saying I just won't be the one on stage to play the AI music, but I'll help out otherwise.
The timing of this seriously sucks. And I do get that it's kind of the bride's fault because she didn't get back to you until the day before the wedding. But now she's either got to pick all new songs in less than 24 hours or find someone else to be on stage and actually run the DJ equipment. Both of those sound really hard and like super stressful to do the day before your wedding.
All right, and then before the next 2 updates, let's jump over to comments.
Okay.
Top comment. Interesting that it's immoral when it infringes on your livelihood and passion, but not when it's doing the same to others. Also, the wedding is literally tomorrow. Decide what you're doing and communicate it ASAP. Don't wait until the rehearsal dinner. That's just callous. And if you're not going to do it, prepare for a strained relationship with her for years to come.
Those are all good points.
It does seem a little hypocritical that OP is willing to use AI to make all the non-music parts of their life easier, but when it comes to the thing that is their passion, now they're anti-AI.
Which might be kind of how sister-in-law feels about this. Like, music is not her passion, so to her, it's okay to have AI music. It's like when you type in a word processor prompt or like ask it a question, she's okay using AI for this.
Somebody replied to the part of that comment, decide what you're doing and communicate it ASAP. In my opinion, it is too late already. If OP was going to have stipulations, they should have mentioned them at the beginning, especially because OP does not have an objection to AI in general and admits to using it.
I am not sure I would have thought to stipulate no AI music, but also I'm not like this passionate about it as he is. I don't think so. Maybe if I was as passionate as him, I would have thought to stipulate that.
I think also, if it's your career, you've probably encountered it a few times and you would know to include it. Although this is just like, sounds like it's a family verbal agreement. But like when I was working advertising, we absolutely had clauses in our contracts being like, hey, we don't use AI, and we pride ourselves on that. Generally, when people don't use AI in their work, they show it off as like a mark of pride. Like, hey, we're actually good at this.
Yeah, we don't need AI. That's how good we are at this.
I get there probably wasn't any kind of contract here, but the day before the wedding is rough. And I will add, a lot of the comments are just going to be, I am anti-AI, which I can fully get behind those comments, but they don't super contribute to the conversation here.
Yeah, like I think we all get we're all anti-AI, but can you control how anti-AI someone else is?
I think that's kind of the discussion topic here, not whether or not we are pro or against AI. Because personally, I don't like it.
Yeah, it's what you do when you are anti-AI and someone who is pro-AI asks you to use it.
At their own wedding.
Yes. I do feel like it being at their wedding makes a huge difference. And also the day before.
And also the day before. The only other option, I think, the day before is silence.
Like, no bride needs the stress the day before her wedding. Although this is partially on her for not getting you the music list earlier. Everybody sucks.
Another comment. No assholes here, but tell her immediately. You're not obliged to be the face of something you have a genuine ethical objection to. People are allowed to decline work that conflicts with their values, especially when those values are directly tied to their profession. At the same time, your sister-in-law probably isn't trying to make a statement about the future of music. She likely just found songs she likes and wants them at her wedding. The only thing that would push this towards you're the asshole territory is waiting. You've already seen the playlist, you've already made up your mind, and the wedding is tomorrow. The longer you sit on it, the fewer options she has. Tell her now, either you're willing to DJ despite your objections, or you're willing to provide the equipment and step aside. Don't leave her guessing until rehearsal. This isn't really an AI debate, it's a communication and timing issue.
Yeah, you gotta sort this out with her ASAP.
All right, and then let's jump to the second update.
Okay.
It's been a few hours, and while this post blew up, thank you for all the comments. I had a chance to talk with my sister-in-law. I decided to take the it's not on Spotify, which is difficult route, and that mostly worked. Except, she was still stuck on one song. The First Dance. She really wanted her first dance to be one of the AI songs. I showed up shortly after they talked and decided to just set up my equipment and play the song for the bridal party. Pretty quickly, the song was shut down by the bridesmaids. They were worried about such a special moment being an AI song, and also that the song kinda sucks. My sister-in-law is still on the fence about it, but it sounds like she's going to go with a real song. I'll update again after the wedding tomorrow, but for now, the plan is I'll continue to DJ, and we won't be playing any AI songs.
I feel like that was a bit of a cop-out, being like, they're not on Spotify, so that makes it hard. Just tell her it's because they're AI and you don't like it. You should be willing to stand up for your principles without having to come up with an excuse.
Also, all the bridesmaids telling the bride the day before her wedding that the song sucks?
Well, apparently she didn't tell anyone until the day before what the song was, because otherwise I would have been, loud about that way before.
That's true. It depends on how bad the song sucks, I guess, because to a certain extent, if the song is just like mid, you're like, great choice. You just lie to that bride.
Oh, yeah.
But if the song is just outright bad, yeah, you might have to say something.
Also, I can't believe that it's not on Spotify thing worked, because the AI songs that I found, I found songs and I was like, I love this song, and then found out that it was AI. They're on Spotify. That's where I found them.
I think these specific ones, sister-in-law generated.
Oh, she generated herself. Okay. That is different.
All right, and then final update after the wedding. Ultimately, I ended up playing the AI songs. Although my sister-in-law was on board the day before, her fiancé was not. He pulled me aside and asked what my deal was. I tried to explain it to him using the same logic as her bridesmaids, but he wasn't having it. I told him it was tacky to have her whole first, middle, last name in the song, and he said, okay, give me 2 minutes and I'll generate another one.
Okay, so this was something she specifically generated, like, herself for the wedding. Okay. But what do you mean, give me 2 seconds and I'll generate a new one? Is it going to be like the same except taking her name out? Or like, how do you know if the bride is going to like it?
I don't know. It sounds like it's backfiring on OP that they didn't just honestly say, I don't want to play AI songs.
Yeah, and that's why it's like, you should have told them it's because it's AI. Now you lied. You like skirted around the issue and it's causing more problems.
Yeah, you told the fiance the problem was that you found it tacky that her name was in the song, and he goes, okay, I'll generate another one.
I'll just take the name out. That's fine. That's an easy fix.
Then I mentioned, what if they wanted to have a DJ play it for them at someone else's wedding later in life? And he said, I would just text it to him. I don't see the problem.
Is that something that people do, is request their song from the DJ at someone else's wedding?
I might request a song I really like. I don't think I would ever request our first dance song, especially not if our full names were in it.
No, that's weird. Like, you can't do that at someone else's wedding.
Maybe at like 10-year anniversary party or something.
For yourselves, yes. But at someone else's wedding, and like, if it's like a generic love song, yeah, you can request it and nobody's going to know that it is your song. Just the DJ, because you requested it as your song, you know. And the DJ will be like, yeah, sure, that's a wedding appropriate song. I'll play that. But this AI song? No, nobody's going to know what it is. And if it has your name on it, it's going to be so weird at someone else's wedding. Although I don't think you should be doing that at someone else's wedding anyways.
No, don't take the spotlight off the bride and groom by being like, can you play our song? And maybe announce that this is our first song we danced to. That might be extreme, but I don't know why you would request that. I guess they went home and had an argument about it that night because she was pretty convinced they should use a normal song at this point. Then the day of, she told me the AI songs were what they were going with.
I just gotta say, there was a lot of back and forthing. We're using the AI songs. We're not using the AI songs. We're using the AI songs. We're not. So much back and forthing on the day before the wedding. This is stressing me out, and I'm not the bride.
So to not cause a scene, I just sucked it up and played the songs.
I mean, I almost do feel like that was the smart choice at this point. It's make the bride happy on her wedding day, please. Even if you think her ideas are dumb.
I know OP said that they think that the couple went home and had an argument about it. I feel like the argument was probably, should we let OP dictate what songs we play?
It's our wedding. We should do what we want. It's probably the fiance trying to convince the bride to do what she wants on her wedding day is what I feel the argument was. Because she was caving into OP, and I feel like the fiance was like, no, you do what you want. It's our wedding day. And I feel like that is a good supportive fiance.
Or fiance was the one that generated it because he thought it was nice that he put her first, middle, and last name in the song. I'm assuming new last name. I don't know. Maybe she's not taking his name. Either way, I feel like OP did not convince her as much as OP thinks they did. At least that's what I got out of that.
Yeah, I kind of think so too.
But overall, Reddit says not the asshole. But I think that is heavily weighed by all the people whose entire comment was AI bad. Which I can fully get behind just commenting AI bad. I just don't think it's relevant to this conversation.
Am I overreacting for winding up my neighbor over a duck?
What's the duck doing?
I, 32 female, work from home, and every morning I take my coffee in the garden before starting work. 6 months ago, a duck started visiting. Just the one. I don't feed it. I don't encourage it. It just waddles in, sits by my pond for a while. He isn't doing anything wrong. He's a duck, and then he leaves at some point in the day.
Okay, so it's just a lonely duck.
Just a duck that likes your little pond.
Yeah, that's just his morning ritual, too.
Last week, my neighbor knocked on the door and said completely seriously, "Can you stop letting our duck into your garden?"
Oh, sorry, it's a domestic duck?
Apparently, the duck also visits their garden, and they've been feeding him frozen peas. She said her kids love the duck and want to keep it.
Oh my god, it's not even a domestic duck, it's just a wild duck.
I said, oh, so it's not actually your duck, it's a wild duck then? I also said, I don't feed him, he just turns up. I don't care what a wild duck does.
You can't just keep a wild duck.
Neighbor is frustrated, I think, and says, well, he clearly prefers your garden now. Again, he's a duck, living his duck life. I don't care. I asked, okay, that's nice your kids like the duck, but I can't actually control the duck.
I don't know how you could possibly stop the duck from visiting.
She just leaves, says nothing, and goes. A few days later, I go outside, and there are 9 plastic ducks in her front garden. I thought, okay, she's crazy. Duck is still coming into my garden, just existing. My husband then saw her in her PJs at the front of her house, throwing peas all over her front garden. My husband is a petty man and thought to put a tiny chair in the garden next to the pond for the duck.
Sorry, she put a bunch of duck decoys out to try to tempt the duck over?
Yeah, and is throwing frozen peas around because ducks like to eat peas. So she's trying to tempt it over into her yard.
Best of luck. There's other ducks.
Apparently not. This is the only duck in the neighborhood, and she needs that duck. Her children love it.
She didn't even think to ask, like, hey, can my children come over and feed the duck at your pond because it's not coming into our yard anymore?
No, chase that duck out of your yard so it'll come to my yard.
Sure.
My husband is a petty man and thought to put a tiny chair in the garden next to the pond for the duck. Obviously, the duck doesn't know how to sit in it. We are not encouraging a duck. It's a little wooden chair.
Okay, but I could totally see a duck just sitting in a little chair. Like, they're fine with it.
I mean, as long as it's big enough for the duck to actually fit in.
Like, comfortably, yeah.
Comfortably, yeah. Anyway, big mistake. Neighbor saw it. That afternoon, a note appeared in our letterbox saying, "Mocking children is disgusting." What? Anyway, fast forward to yesterday, 1 week later, duck lands in the garden as usual, has a little chill, I go to work inside. About 45 minutes later, 9:45 a.m., I hear shouting outside. My neighbor is in the road, pointing at my house, telling another neighbor, "See, she's trained him. She wouldn't let my kids have him."
This is a front yard, right?
I mean, she doesn't say, she just says she takes her breakfast in the garden with the duck.
But if they can point at the duck from the road, I assume it's a front yard.
It seems like, yeah.
That's just such an easy to access place. If you came to me not being insane at the first meeting and was like, hey, we want to feed the duck, but it's hanging out in your yard all the time. Can we throw peas into your yard? I don't care.
Okay. Now, I am wondering, though, is if this is in another country. Like, I think some places, like in the UK, the front gardens, because she does call it a garden, and that's what the people in the UK do. They call it a garden instead of a yard. I think some of the front gardens are also fenced.
But if you asked me nicely, if your kids can come in and open my gate, there's a high chance that I don't care. As long as you don't trash the place.
Trained him? It's a duck. I was annoyed. I went outside with a massive grin, said, "Hello, I don't suppose you're talking about me. Like I have said before, it is a wild animal." Neighbor she is talking to swings head around to me after I said that. "I don't own him, nor do you or your children. I cannot control where that duck goes. I don't feed him or encourage it to stay." I walk away and leave.
It sounds more like neighbor trained the duck to not go into her yard because they won't stop hassling the duck.
Right? Like, I can totally see why the duck likes your yard better than the neighbor's, because there's not a bunch of kids pestering it.
And they want to try to keep the duck. Were they out there chasing the duck with a net?
I don't know. How are you planning to keep it in the yard and not have it fly away?
I assume step one is trap the duck somehow.
Which that duck is not going to like.
No, he wants to just live his best single man life.
Chilling at the pond.
Yeah.
Now, I need to work, but I can see her watching me through the window. My mom says I should scare the duck off just to keep the peace. My husband keeps referring to the duck as our son and has named him Darwin. So he's not helpful because he does not work from home like I do.
Why Darwin?
I don't know.
Is that a famous duck?
No. Just a famous scientist. So now I'm encouraging the duck, Darwin, my son. He shall have everything he wants, including a rabbit hut I have gotten for free online, filled with straw. I don't even know if that is right. And whatever ducks want, Darwin will get. My mom and my dad think I'm being an asshole and that I'm asking for trouble now.
Maybe I grew up spoiled. Because there were just constantly ducks in my backyard, to the point that most of my neighbors were trying to actively chase ducks out of the yard.
Yeah, you grew up on a lake, so there are a lot of ducks and geese and swans and what are those ones with the white beaks?
Coots?
Coots. There's coots. You have so much wildlife in your childhood backyard. So yeah, you guys were trying to chase the ducks and geese out of your yard because they're just pooping everywhere.
Okay, my family never tried to chase the ducks and geese out of our yard. That was all the crazy old people that lived on our street. They'd set up like fishing line along your coast.
But I think it's crazy that this neighbor is like, that is our wild duck. How dare you allow it in your yard?
I have no idea how you just grab a duck out of the wild and be like, you're coming home with me.
You're my friend now. Top comment, not overreacting. I think this is hilarious and petty in the best way.
Do we ever find out what kind of duck this is? I don't think it's relevant to the story. I want to know what kind of duck we're talking about. It's important to me.
No, we never do find out what kind of duck it is. She did not pay the duck tax. There are no pictures of this duck.
I feel like this is an important post to pay the duck tax on.
I was just imagining a mallard duck.
I was also imagining a mallard duck, but that's a very Michigan imagination right there.
Another comment. An unsecured animal is going to do what they want. One of my mom's neighbors has not secured their chickens very well, and one of their chickens is obsessed with my stepdad. She would sit outside the window of whatever room he was in, lay eggs under their porch, and let him pick her up and hold her. They also were planning on setting up a hutch. This apparently bothered the owners who secured their animal.
Setting up a hutch for your neighbor's owned animal, like legitimately owned animal, is a wild take.
But it spends all their time over at their house anyways because it loves stepdad.
That is kind of funny, though.
I will bring you eggs. I just want to hang out with this chicken that adores me because it feels great to be the chosen one, right? Like when an animal chooses you, it's the best feeling.
I sure hope their porch is easy to get under because those eggs are going to start smelling.
Oh, yeah, that's true. They continue. If it's no one's duck, it'll go where it pleases. If she wants to keep the duck, she can go through the effort of containing and caring for it. Personally, if I had to guess, the duck, like most animals, probably prefers a quiet adult to screaming children.
Yeah, it does kind of sound to me like maybe the duck is just like, there's too much chaos in this yard. I'm going to go one over because they got this sweet pond. Maybe
the neighbor should put in a pond if she really wants to attract the duck.
Does neighbor not even have a pond?
I don't know. There's no mention of the neighbor having a pond. There's only mention of OP's pond.
You can't get a duck if you don't have a pond. Come on.
The duck is obviously going to choose the yard with a pond. Another comment, not overreacting. Tell her it's illegal to keep wild ducks. Maybe that'll shut her down.
I have to assume it's illegal. I don't know where they live and I don't know their local laws, obviously. But I've never heard of anywhere where you can just grab a duck out of the woods and take it home.
It is illegal here because they're migrating birds, and so you're not allowed to own the wild ducks.
Correct. You can keep a certain number of game animals, but that's generally ones that you trap, not hunt with a rifle.
Yeah, there's so many different laws about wild animals, and it wildly varies from state to state in the U.S.
Right. I had to read up on a lot of these for a story on this show that we didn't end up using because it got deleted. But I now know so much info about the laws on keeping an alligator in Michigan.
Are you allowed to?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, that's good. I mean, maybe not good because there have been times when people have just let their alligators loose in the Clinton River in our, in the Metro Detroit area. And people are like, watch out, there's an alligator in the Clinton River this year.
Yeah, I think alligator is one of those ones that my personal opinion is maybe you shouldn't be allowed to own an alligator.
And if you do, definitely don't release it into the wild.
But it's big and annoying now. It's not cute anymore.
People kayak in that river. Somebody's going to get eaten.
That's true because no one in Michigan, 1, expects an alligator. And 2, knows how to react when an alligator turns up.
Yeah, we're not Florida man. We don't know how to wrestle those things.
No, we have no experience with large reptiles.
One more comment. NTA, I would set up an entire duck amusement park in the backyard if I were you.
That is an extreme level of petty right there, and I feel like OP's husband might really like that idea.
Yeah, but it might be a good idea to not encourage OP's husband too much.
All right, that's our last story for this episode of Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet.
Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.